I died, choking on my own blood. The metallic tang flooding my mouth as the SUV's headlights bore down like twin demons from hell. My best friend Sarah's screams echoed in my ears. Kenzie. Oh God. Kenzie. But they were laced with something darker. A hesitation that hit me harder than the impact. The last thing I saw was her face twisted in what I now know was feigned horror. Her hands gripping the wheel not in panic, but in calculation. Then blackness. And just like that, I was back, 32 years old, gasping awake in my childhood bedroom in that cramped Brooklyn walk-up, the faded Yankees poster still peeling from the wall. My high school yearbook splayed open on the desk like a bad joke. It was the night before I stormed out for good. The night Mom's ultimatum sliced through the air like a switchblade. If you leave, don't come back. This time, I wouldn't just vanish. This time, I'd burn it all down from the inside. The air smelled of stale coffee and regret, the kind that clings to yellowed linoleum in a two-bedroom apartment that's seen better decades. I bolted upright in bed, my heart hammering like I'd just run the marathon, sweat soaking the threadbare tank top I'd worn since I was 17. My hands smooth, unscarred. Not the calloused paws of the barista I'd become after everything went to shit, trembled as I touched my face. No wrinkles from endless double shifts at that godforsaken coffee shop in Midtown. No faint scar on my jaw from the bar fight I'd picked with a sleazy customer who grabbed my ass one too many times. I was me, but young me. Kenzie Harper, 19 and furious, on the cusp of torching every bridge I'd ever crossed. Down the hall, Mom's voice cracked through the thin walls, mid-rant on the phone with Aunt Rita. That girl's gonna end up just like her father, running from everything that matters. Dad had split when I was 8, vanishing to who knows where in Jersey with a bottle of Jack and a secretary half his age. The wound never healed. It just festered, turning Mom into a fortress of resentment wrapped in moo-moo and menthol cigarettes. I'd heard it all before. The accusations flying like shrapnel. I was ungrateful. Wild. A carbon copy of the man who'd left us scraping by on food stamps and overtime at the laundromat. But last time? Her words weren't just barbs. They were the shove that sent me hurtling into the abyss. I swung my legs over the bed, bare feet hitting the cold floorboards that groaned like old bones. The clock on my nightstand blinked 2:17 a.m. in toxic green digits. In my first life, I'd lain awake until dawn after that fight, packing my duffel with shaking hands while Mom's ultimatum echoed, "If you leave, don't come back." I'd hurled it back at her. Fine, watch me. And by sunrise, I was gone. 3 boxes crammed with thrift store clothes, a stolen toaster oven, and dreams bigger than this shoebox existence. Hitchhiked to Manhattan, crashed on Sarah's couch in her parents' Upper East Side brownstone. She was my lifeline then, the golden girl with trust fund ease and a laugh that could disarm a SWAT team. "You've got this, Kenzie," she'd cooed, pouring me cheap Merlot from a box. "We're in it together." Lies. All of it. The memories crashed over me now, unbidden and razor-sharp. The years of scraping by. The accidental overdose at that party Sarah threw to celebrate her engagement to Derek, the golden boy from Yale. The one who'd looked at me like I was yesterday's trash. I'd woken up in the ER, stomach pumped, Sarah at my bedside with crocodile tears. I don't know how it happened, Kenzie. Someone must have spiked your drink, but I knew. The pill she'd slipped into my hand earlier that night. Here, loosen up. It's just ecstasy. Wasn't ecstasy. It was fentanyl-laced hell, meant to frame me as the junkie crashing her perfect life. Derek had whispered it to her once. Drunk and careless. Get rid of the baggage.
Babe.
She's dragging you down. And Sarah, ever the climber, had listened. In my first life, I survived that night, barely. Nursed the addiction it sparked. Clawed my way to sobriety on the back of NA meetings in church basements that smelled like burnt coffee and broken promises. Landed that barista gig. Dated a string of losers who saw my fire as a challenge to extinguish. Then the accident. Sarah behind the wheel of Derek's SUV. Me in the passenger seat after she'd begged me to come to their reconciliation dinner. I miss you,
Kenzie.
Let's bury the hatchet. The road curved sharp on that foggy Belt Parkway stretch. And she jerked the wheel, just enough. Investigators called it a tragic swerve, mechanical failure. But I'd seen her eyes in the rearview, cold, triumphant. The lawsuit she'd filed against the defective brakes netted her a 7-figure settlement. My obituary? A footnote in the Post. Local woman. 32. Killed in crash.
Now.
Back in this body. This time, I wouldn't be the footnote. I'd rewrite the script, starting with Mom's goddamn ultimatum. I padded to the kitchen. The floor sticky underfoot from last night's spilled Kool-Aid. Mom was there, hunched over the Formica table. Ashtray overflowing like her ashtray of a life. She looked up, eyes bloodshot behind her cat-eye glasses. Can't sleep?
Good.
We need to talk about your attitude. Young lady. The words bubbled up. The old script on my tongue. Screw you. I'm out. But I swallowed them. Tasting bile.
No.
This time, I'd play it smart. Mom, I said, voice steady as I hadn't been in years. I'm not going anywhere. Not yet. She blinked. Forkful of cold spaghetti pausing midair. It was the first deviation. The first crack in the timeline. And God, it felt like power. By morning, the apartment buzzed with an uneasy truce. Mom shuffled to her shift at the laundromat, muttering about miracles under her breath. I stayed put, nursing a mug of Folgers that tasted like victory, plotting my first move.
Sarah.
I needed to see her, gauge the rot before it spread. In my first life, I'd texted her that very afternoon. Hey, drama queen. Bailed on the rents. Couch space? She'd replied in minutes. OMG, yes.
Get here, ASAP.
Wine waiting. This time, I'd make her come to me, drag her into my territory, where the walls had ears that remembered every slight. I fired off the message. Mom and I had it out.
Staying put for now.
Meet at the diner on Atlantic? 4 p.m. Need to vent. Her response pinged back fast. Oh no. What happened? Be there. Hugs incoming. Hugs. The word twisted in my gut like a knife. I remembered those hugs, the way she'd squeeze just tight enough to feel like possession. Her perfume a cloying mask for the venom beneath. The diner was a relic. All chrome stools and vinyl booths scarred by decades of greasy fingerprints. I slid into our old spot by the window, the one overlooking the BQE where trucks rumbled like thunder. Sarah breezed in 10 minutes late, all effortless chic in a cashmere sweater that cost more than my rent ever had, her blonde bob swinging like a metronome of privilege. Kenzie, she air-kissed my cheeks, dropping into the seat with a dramatic sigh.
Spill.
Is it the usual mom meltdown? I forced a laugh, the sound rusty in my throat.
Worse.
She basically told me to get out or shape up. Lie number 1. But it hooked her. eyes widening in that practiced sympathy. That's awful. You're too good for that crap. Remember when we were kids, plotting our escape to LA? Palm trees and auditions.
Kids.
We weren't kids anymore, but the nostalgia was her weapon, reeling me in every time. In this life, I'd been the dreamer, scribbling screenplays on napkins while she nodded along, secretly submitting my ideas to her daddy's agent friends under her name. The first betrayal I'd uncovered too late, my pilot script. Shadows on the Stoop, optioned by a mid-tier studio with her credited as creator. Inspired by true events, the trades had said. My events. My words. She'd laughed it off when confronted. Come on, Kenzie. You know I did it for us. Exposure. Yeah, I said now, stirring my coffee black. Those were the days. I watched her, really watched, the micro-twitch at the corner of her mouth. The way her fingers drummed the formica, like she was already calculating the angle. Speaking of, how's Derek? Still the king of the frat. Her laugh tinkled. Forced bright.
Oh.
You know Derek. Sweeping me off my feet.
Lies.
In my first life. He'd been sweeping me off mine first, stolen kisses at keggers. Promises whispered in the dark. Until Sarah found out, and turned it into her fairy tale. She'd forgiven him, but not before planting doubts in my ear. He's using you. Kenzie. Stick to your league. By the time I bowed out, he'd proposed to her on a yacht in the Hamptons. I toasted them with a smile, hiding the shards in my chest. We ordered, her a kale smoothie she wouldn't finish. Me the lumberjack special. Eggs over easy. As the waitress, a tired Latina named Rosa, who'd comped my meals back in the day, slid plates down. Sarah leaned in. So, what's the plan? You can't stay cooped up in Brooklyn forever.
The plan.
My plan now was a labyrinth of revenge, starting with threads she'd never see coming. Actually, I said, forking into hash browns that crunched like bones. I'm thinking community college. Film program at Kingsborough. Get my footing. Her fork clattered. Wait.
What?
You? School? Disdain flickered. Masked quick as a blink. I mean,
That's
practical. But Kenzie, you've got talent. Real stuff. Don't waste it on some community gig.
talent.
Hers. She'd meant. Always. I smiled. Sweet as saccharin.
Nah.
It's a stepping stone.
Besides.
I need stability. Can't mooch off you forever. The barb landed. She flushed, waving it off. Mooch?
Please.
Your family. But her eyes darted to her phone, buzzing with a text. Derek. No doubt. Coordinating alibis. We talked for hours. Or rather, she monologued her internship at the gallery, Daddy's connections, the Hamptons share they were, maybe getting. I nodded, laughed, fed her ego like chum to a shark. By the time we hugged goodbye outside, rain spitting from a leaden sky, I had what I needed, confirmation. She was already weaving the web, inviting me to that harmless party in a month, where the pill would wait. This time, I'd swallow nothing but truth. Back home, Mom was frying liver and onions, the smell a gut punch of normalcy. She eyed me sidelong as I dumped my bag. Out with that rich girl again? The one who looks down her nose at us. Sarah, I corrected gently, surprising us both. And yeah. But I'm changing things.
Mom.
Starting with us. She snorted, but softer than before. Don't make promises you can't keep. Kid. I wouldn't. Not this time. As I lay in bed that night, the city humming beyond the fire escape, I sketched the first lines of my new script, not on paper, but in my mind. Act 1, The Prodigal Stays. Act 2, The Serpent in the Garden. By dawn, I'd enrolled online for classes, my fingers flying over the ancient Dell laptop Mom kept in the hall closet. It was a small victory, but victories stack. And mine would topple empires. The weeks blurred into a tense rhythm, Brooklyn's pulse syncing with my own calculated beat. Mornings, crepes with Mom over the Formica, coaxing stories from her I'd never bothered with before, how Dad's charm had masked his selfishness, how she'd clawed through night school for that laundromat job. You think it's easy. Being the rock, she'd snap, but her eyes softened when I listened. No more ultimatums, instead, tentative bridges. Proud of you, Kenzie, she mumbled once, over burnt toast. It nearly undid me. Afternoons, Kingsborough's campus, a concrete jungle of ambition and apathy. I aced the placement test, knowledge from a decade of hustling bleeding through, and dove into screenwriting 101. Professor Hale, a grizzled ex-soap scribe with a Brooklyn drawl thicker than fog, pulled me aside after the first critique. Harper, this scene, it's got teeth.
Raw.
Like Scorsese on a bender. Keep that fire. My script, reworked from memory, a girl betrayed by her shadow self. Not shadows on the stoop, that was tainted. This was echoes in the rear view, a thriller about a driver who sees ghosts in the glass. Evenings, Sarah. I dosed her exposure like poison, texts, brunches, casual, hangs at dive bars where the jukebox spun Springsteen and the air reeked of spilled bud. She confided, as planned, Derek's wandering eye, the pressure from her folks to lock it down. He's perfect on paper.
But.
You get it, right? I'd nod, murmur sympathies, all while noting the tells, the way she'd glance at her reflection, hungry for validation. In my first life, I'd spilled my guts to her about my own heartbreaks, arming her with ammo.
Now.
I gave nothing.
Zilch.
She pressed, probing for cracks. You're so guarded lately. What's up?
Liefer. Gib.
Clinking glasses. Gotta protect the goods. Under it all, the secret festered, the one I'd buried even from myself in the first go-round. Not just Sarah's thefts or Derek's Lee's. It was Mom's. The night Dad left, she'd confessed in a whiskey haze. I pushed him.
Kenzie.
Told him if he walked, don't look back. And he did. Echoes of her ultimatum to me. But deeper, she'd known about his affair for months. Let it simmer until it boiled over. Rage had driven her. A mother's fury at abandonment. I'd forgiven her blindly, carrying that fracture into every bond one broke.
Now?
It was leverage. If Sarah was the serpent, Mom was the garden's hidden thorn. I'd uproot them both, but gently, twist the knife with kindness until they bled truth. The party loomed. Sarah's pre-engagement bash at her parents' Pied Terra overlooking Central Park. Invites had gone out via Evite. All glitter and champagne emojis. You have to come, she'd begged over FaceTime. Her face flushed from pre-gaming rose. Derek's making his big ask. Well, sort of. Family's there. It'll be epic.
Epic.
Code for trap. In my first life, I'd arrived buzzed on her gift flask, the spiked contents hitting like a freight train. Woke to paramedics. Sarah's hand in mine, spinning tales of my descent. This time, I'd sober as a judge, eyes wide open. I prepped like a soldier, black jeans that hugged like armor, a thrifted blazer sharp as wit, hair pulled back in a no-nonsense ponytail. Mom fussed at the door, spritzing me with her Chanel knockoff. Don't let those snobs chew you up, kid. Her worry was new, earned from my changed ways, helping with bills from campus work-study, cooking meatloaf that didn't taste like regret. Won't, I promised, kissing her cheek. The LIRR to Penn Station, then subway shake to the Upper East Side. The building loomed, doormen in crisp uniforms nodding me through like I belonged. Upstairs, the party thrummed, chamber music warring with laughter, air thick with bergamot and bourbon. Sarah spotted me first, weaving through trust funders in Lululemon, pulling me into a hug that squeezed too tight. You made it. Drink. She thrust a flute of something bubbly, eyes gleaming. I accepted, but sipped once, scent test, clean. Derek hovered nearby, all ivy polish and predatory smile, clapping my shoulder. Kenzie, the legend returns. Heard you're slinging scripts now. Need an investor? The hook. In the first life, I'd bitten, pitched shadows right there. Him nodding along before ghosting me for Sarah's version. Now, maybe. But I'm keeping it indie. No strings. His smile faltered. Just a hair. The night unspooled. Small talk with Sarah's folks, her dad, the hedge fund shark, probing my background like I was a stock tip, her mom, Botox smooth, cooing about diversity hires at her nonprofit. I played the part, earnest striver, all smiles and deflections. Sarah stuck close, her arm linked in mine, whispering asides, ignore them. They're dinosaurs. But her grip tightened when Derek drifted toward a redhead in the corner, laughter bubbling too free. Midnight neared, the crowd thinning to intimates. Sarah pulled me aside to the balcony, city lights sprawling like a glittering trap below. Wind whipped her hair. She lit a cigarette, offering one. I declined. Kenzie, she said, exhaling smoke like a dragon, I need to tell you something. About Derek. Here it came, the pivot. The moment she'd confide her doubts, drawing me into the drama to make me the fall guy. Last time, tears, hugs, the pill as comfort.
Now.
I leaned on the railing. Casual. Shoot. He's seeing someone. That intern from his office. Her voice cracked artfully. I found texts. God. I'm such an idiot. Sympathy welled. Rehearsed. Oh.
Sarah.
That's rough. You deserve better. She nodded, dabbing phantom tears. I know.
But.
What if we just exposed him? Together? Like, anonymously tip off his boss or something. Her eyes searched mine.
Testing.
The decision loomed, controversial as hell, the first real fork. Play along. Become the accomplice. Speed the unraveling? Or call her bluff? Risk early blowback. My gut screamed caution. But the old fire licked. Make her squirm. That's dark.
Sarah.
Revenge? Not your style. She laughed. Brittle. Who said revenge? Justice. Come on. You're the writer. Plot twists are your jam. I hesitated, letting the silence stretch. below. Taxis honked like accusations. Maybe, I said finally. But let's think it through. No rash moves. Disappointment flashed subtle.
But there.
She'd wanted complicity, my hands dirtying with hers. Instead, I steered us back inside, where Derek proposed with a Tiffany bauble, the room erupting in applause. Sarah's smile was porcelain, mine
Steel.
as I slipped out at 2 a.m. Her text buzzed. Thanks for being there. Love you.
Love.
The word soured. Home on the subway, I drafted the email, anonymous, routed through a VPN I'd set up on the library computer. To Derek's boss at Goldman, subject, Mr. Harrington's extracurriculars. Attachments, screenshots of texts, timestamps irrefutable. I'd lifted them from her phone earlier. A quick swipe when she'd hugged me goodbye. Old barista trick. Sleight of hand for tips. Not revenge yet. Just balance. The fallout hit like a nor'easter. By Tuesday, Sarah's tearful voicemails flooded my inbox. Kenzie. What the hell? They think I leaked it. Derek's furious. I called back. Voice all innocence. Leaked what? Oh my God. Sarah. That's insane. You think I?
No.
No, she backpedaled, hysteria edging in. It's just bad timing. But thanks for the shoulder last night. Shoulder. I'd given her a noose. Derek got suspended pending investigation. HR's zero tolerance on workplace fraternization. Sarah's parents cut the engagement party short. Whispers of prenups and scandals. She leaned harder. Invites turning desperate. Coffee runs. Emergency spa days. I went. Each time mining more, her diary app unlocked with a guest password, her dog's name. Plus birth year. Entries spilling venom. Kenzie's playing hard to get. Need to remind her who's boss. That script? Mine if she flakes. The secret deepened. One night, scrolling her cloud backup, hacked via a phishing link disguised as a girl's trip itinerary. I found it, emails to an agent, dated months back. Echoes in the rearview, my class assignment, emailed from my school account?
No.
She'd CC'd herself from a dummy, pitching it as inspired by my BFF's wildlife. Theft. Again. But the chaser, a thread with Derek. Get her out of the picture. That crash idea? Too messy. The party, make it stick.
The party.
My overdose. They'd planned it. Together. The bile rose. Hot and familiar. This wasn't just betrayal, it was conspiracy. A murder plot wrapped in friendship bows. I confronted Mom that weekend, over pot roast that actually tasted like home. You ever hide something big from Dad? Before he left, she froze. Knife midway through a carrot. What brought this on? Just thinking. Patterns. I pushed. Gentle. Did you know about her? The secretary. Her face crumpled. Fork clattering.
Yeah.
For 6 months. Thought it'd make him choose. Instead, he ran. Tears tracked mascara rivers. I was angry. Kenzie. Like you get angry. But it cost us. Cost us. The echo of her words to me. Mom, I said, taking her hand, calloused from quarters and bleach, we fix it. Together. It was the first truth I'd voiced aloud. Her hug was fierce, breaking something in me. Forgiveness? Maybe. or fuel. The climax brewed as fall leaves turned the parks to fire. Sarah's calls turned venomous. You're different.
Kenzie. Distant.
What's your game? No game. Checkmate. I invited her to the diner again. Our spot. Rain lashed the windows as she stormed in, soaked and seething. Spit it out. You leaked those texts? Sabotaged Derek. I sipped coffee.
Calm as the eye.
Why would I? You're my best friend. Bullshit. She slammed her palm down, silverware jumping. You've been investigating me. I saw the VPN on your laptop that night at my place. Laptop. I'd left it open during a study session. Bait. Sarah, I said, voice low. Let's cut the crap. Shadows. Echoes. The party. The SUV. Color drained from her face. Cigarette pale. What are you? I remember. The words hung. Heavy. Her eyes widened, not fear. Calculation. Remember what? Dying. I leaned in, rain drumming like applause. You killed me.
Sarah.
Both times. She laughed.
Shrill.
You're crazy. That crash was an accident. Brakes you tampered with. Fentanyl you dosed. Derek's idea. Your hands. Proof spilled from my phone, screenshots. Timestamps. Her own words damning. I came back. To end this. Panic cracked her facade. Kenzie.
Please.
It wasn't like that. He made me. We can fix it. Money. Connections. Your scripts.
Published.
For real this time. The offer dangled. Tempting as sin. Walk away rich. Let the timeline bend. But the old me, the ghost in my veins, whispered, no. Controversial? Hell yes. Mercy was for suckers. No, I said. But I'll give you a choice. Confess. To the cops. Your parents. Or I do with everything. She bolted. Chair scraping. You're bluffing. Door slammed. But I wasn't. The twist hit at dawn. Cops at my door, not for her.
But Mom.
Kenzie Harper, your mother's been arrested. Embezzlement from the laundromat. Thousands missing. Embezzlement? Mom, the secret I'd missed. The one she'd buried. In my first life, it had surfaced post-crash. A footnote in her grief. She'd skimmed to pay my medical bills, cover my addiction. Guilt had eaten her alive, leading to that heart attack 6 months after my funeral. Now, it unraveled everything. Sarah's doing retaliation, digging into my past for leverage. I raced to the station, bailing Mom out on a bond one scraped from work study. In the holding room, she wept. For you, baby. Always for you. The tragedy loomed. Had I saved her from me, only to doom her to this?
No.
The happy ending wasn't clean. It was forged in fire. I lawyered up pro bono from a campus clinic, turned the tables. Sarah's hacks? Illegal. Her diary? Admissible. Derek's suspension? Snowballing to indictment. Cops hauled her in weeks later. After I dropped the dossier. Texts. Emails. Brake fluid receipts from a midtown auto shop under a fake name. Conspiracy to commit murder. The DA intoned on the news. My anonymous tip lauded. Mom's case? Plea bargain. Community service. Her skim exposed as desperate love. Not greed. Sarah's trial was circus. Headlines screaming, trust fund killer. her tearful testimony crumbling under cross. Kenzie framed me. She's obsessed. But the jury saw truth. Betrayal's blueprint. Derek flipped first. Plea deal for immunity. It was her idea, he sobbed on the stand. The whole thing. I watched from the gallery. Mom's hand in mine, frail but fierce. Verdict: guilty. Life. No parole. After. On the courthouse steps. Rain washing the city clean. Mom squeezed my fingers. You came back.
Didn't you?
For us. I nodded. The weight lifting. Not quite happy, scars don't fade. But whole. Yeah.
Mom.
And I stayed. We walked into the dusk. Brooklyn calling home. 3 boxes? Unpacked. Vanished? Never again. This time, I built the empire, from scripts sold under my name to a laundromat chain Mom ran clean. Sarah's cell became her rearview mirror. Endless echoes. Mine? Clear skies. Second chances. The end? Just the sequel's hook.